Hi, I'm Ashton, and today I wanted to talk about what do you do when your friend comes out as trans. Maybe you have a friend that you thought was cis for years and they came out as trans, but they've already transitioned and you don't know how to react. Maybe you have a friend that has just recently come out and hasn't started transition yet. How do you respect that? Maybe you're just watching this because you watch all my videos. If so, you're great, but you probably already know this stuff. First, a couple disclaimers. One, every trans person is different. What I would like for a friend to do for me may not be the same as your friend would want you to do for them. So don't take these as end-all be-all of being a friend of a trans person, but I would take these things that I'm going to say as guidelines. It's always better to be safe than get punched by a trans person, you know. Also, if you are my friend in real life and you watch my videos, first of all, there's like 3 of you that do, but if you've done any of these things to me, don't feel bad. That's one of my pieces of advice, actually. Don't over-apologize. Let's start out with that. Don't over-apologize. At some point, you are going to misgender your friend. At some point, you will very likely misname your friend. At some point, you might say something that makes them uncomfortable. Understand that while apologizing is okay, over-apologizing just makes us feel bad. While I and many other trans people appreciate the sentiment that you are trying to learn and you feel bad for the mistakes that you may have made, over-apologizing isn't going to help anything. You know, I had a teacher misgender me one time and it was extremely awkward because she sat down next to me, like, grabbed my shoulder and just apologized over and over for 5 minutes. It wasn't productive. She didn't get any better at not misgendering me after that. It was just awkward for me. I assume it was awkward for her. It was awkward for the entire class. Just don't do that. If you misgender someone, quietly say sorry once and then correct yourself. You don't need to overcorrect yourself. You don't need to over-apologize. It's really not going to help anything. Just instead of apologizing for something that you've already done and you can't take back, just learn how to do better in the future. My next point is that if a friend comes out as trans and you're not entirely sure what that means or what that implies or what they're going to do next, do your own research before you treat your friend like a thesaurus. Maybe that's why you're watching this video. If so, good job, you're doing the right thing. There are a lot of resources online where you can learn so much more about trans people without having to be awkwardly invasive to your friend. Being educated about trans issues and LGBT plus issues in general is a good thing, of course, but not everyone is, and that's okay. I get that. At some point, I wasn't either. If you have a trans friend, then learning about trans issues would be a good first step. Connected to that, ask before you ask questions, because there may be some things that are personal and not answered by the internet. So, are you getting the surgery, or have you had the surgery? Don't ask invasive questions. Don't ask them what's in their pants. And if you do desperately need to know, ask before you ask. This is something that a lot of people actually do for me that I appreciate. Like a friend that is curious might ask, hey, I understand this is invasive, but may I ask something about the effects of hormones? And most of the time, I'm like, yeah, I just do appreciate being given a warning if a friend is going to ask something that is personal. I don't just want someone to walk up to me and be like, hey, so how's your dick? Something that may seem obvious for some people, but is forgotten a lot of the times, is take pronouns seriously. It's not that difficult. It doesn't take that much effort. If you're having trouble learning to use someone's pronouns, stand in front of a mirror or talk about them with a family member and say, like, yes, Jenny, she, Jenny, she. Jenny went to the store and she bought milk. Jenny went to the store and she bought cheese, you know? Practice makes perfect. That's a true thing, and it's not any different with pronouns. You don't have to practice in a way that hurts them. You don't have to keep making mistakes and correcting yourself in front of them. Get used to their pronouns. It's a lot less difficult than you would expect it to be, and honestly, even a little thing like pronouns can make your trans friend feel a lot more supported. Realize that your friend is putting trust in you and do not out them. What I mean by outing, if you're unaware, is telling another person that may or may not know your friend is trans that they're trans. This could include introducing them to another friend, like, hey, this is Chelsea, see, she's trans. Chelsea's gonna look at you like, the fuck are you doing, Sharon? Unless you have explicit permission from a trans person to tell someone else that they are trans, just don't do it. As a general rule, it's nearly never necessary. Even if you think it is the right time to tell someone that they're trans, either let them make that decision or ask them if they want your help, because 9 times out of 10, they won't want your help with coming out to someone. Another thing is respecting trans terminology. This is especially important if you are intimate with this person, if this person is your partner. Realize that the words that they want to use for their body are theirs, and if they technically have a penis, they might not want to call it that, and that's not your call to make. Before you refer to your trans friend with any rigid label, make sure that they're comfortable with it and it's something that they would prefer you to call them. Again, it's a really simple thing, but it can make a lot of trans people feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more supported by you as a friend. One of the most important things that I have to say is don't make it about you. This is for sure one of the biggest mistakes that I've found a few of my friends, and especially my family, making. When at some point you misgender your friend, don't go onto a rant about how hard it is for you to change your pronouns after so long of knowing them, and how difficult it is for you to have a trans friend, and how much struggle you're going through, and you're trying so hard to accept them. No, I don't want to hear your cisgender complaining. Your friend's transition is in no way impacting you as much as it's impacting them. By coming out to you, this friend is showing that they trust you a lot and they respect you, and you shouldn't undermine that by making their coming out, which for a trans person is often very hard and very dangerous and scary. Don't make that about you. Don't treat someone as the token trans friend. This can definitely happen and has happened to me. If you know another trans person, or a gay person perhaps, don't try to match us up with each other. Oh, I have a friend who's trans, you might know him. We don't all know each other. We don't all like each other. We are just as individual of people as cisgender people are. Don't treat us as that one trans friend. No, we're still just your friend. We're not any different now that we're transitioning, or now that we identify as something other than what we identified as when we met. I feel like I kind of hinted at this before, but don't question their identity. If you have a friend that's a trans guy and still enjoys wearing sparkles, such as perhaps me, don't question them because of that. Their presentation and expression and their identity are two very different things, and regardless of how they present, you should address them as they would like to be addressed. Otherwise, you're probably not going to have that friend for much longer. Understand that coming out as trans can cost someone their job, their friends, their home, a whole plethora of things, and them coming out to you is seriously a sign of trust. Don't ruin that for you or for them or for anyone. Cool, I hope you learned something, and I hope today you are respected by all of your cis friends, or if you're cis, you are respecting all of your trans friends, and I will talk to you later, maybe.